Hello, this is another tutorial video. This will be on meditation 1A by Lubomyr Melnyk. This is the absolute most beginner piece that he has. So if you study his music and you talk to him, he'll probably give you this first. And the notes themselves for most pianists would not be a challenge. Nevertheless, this meditation and all the meditations are important to do properly, whether you're a whiz kid or not. There's a lot to them that is invisible, really, to the onlooker until you actually do them yourself with the right mindset. And I'm going to try and give a sense of that today. But all that said, this is the most beginner piece, so you might not find it particularly meaningful if it comes easily to you. But for many people, this would not come easily. So this piece is not about note difficulty. The main focus of this piece is that it serves as a first introduction to some of the feelings of mindlessness, some of the feelings of peace, some of the feelings of automatic generation of figures, and some of the feelings of space perception that are important to continuous music. So before I start, I should say that your pedal should be down the whole way. Never let it off. And this should not be a problem. There will not be a wall of sound. There will not be a cacophony unless you're doing something very wrong. Having the pedal sustained fully is quite natural for this music. Secondly, ideally you should have your eyes closed. As many people are not used to playing their eyes closed, so it's fine to practice without, but if you are serious about doing continuous music and you're keen, I cannot recommend it enough. You must eventually be able to do a piece like this with your eyes closed. It is necessary. And it gives you a nice feeling as well. It's enjoyable once you have it. So I'm just going to quickly play through the piece. It's a free-form thing, like all the meditations, but I'll give one possible interpretation. So I should say that I played that piece with some variations, and I played it at times quite a bit faster than you would be expected to play.
It sounded beautiful.
I made up my own transition chords and so on. Like if you thought that was too fast or too complicated or had too many changes, don't worry. Like the essential piece is not that. These are just things I've added on. But nevertheless, it was not too complicated note-wise. It's a feature common to all the meditations.
It's beautiful.
Anyway, so how does it start? It starts with this, the right hand is all alone, and you're playing. Sorry, I just realized it's not quite visible on camera. Let me adjust it. You're playing. You're playing D, F, A on the middle C. So in the central octave, and you're playing D, F, A. I'm sorry you still can't really see, but it is what it is. You should have the pedal down the whole time, as I said before. So in the introduction, you really want to be playing as slow as possible. So keep in mind, as a beginner piece, that the focus is not at all on difficulty. The focus is on getting used to the sensation of the piano and the sensation of the mind when you approach a piece of continuous music. So enter calmly, focus, because this is a meditation, right? So focus on having your fingers pressed all the way down into the keys. So, like at first, just let your right hand get the notes right. Then try to apply mental concentration on holding, on pressing a key all the way down, and also on holding the key once you have played it. So in classical music, typically, you play the note, you play the next note, you play the next note. What I'm doing here would be considered legato still in classical music, but in continuous music, not at all. Like, continuous music's legato is. While I'm playing the upper note of the triad, DFA, my thumb is still on the D. It has not moved. Similarly, when I kind of move to play the top note, my third finger is still on the F. I'm not lifting off, I'm not having a separation between each note. It's continuous music, it should be an unbroken line to the greatest extent possible. So you focus on putting your fingers down and letting your fingers really sink and stay calmly on the keys. You want to focus on not having your fingers jutting out, so I'm exaggerating it, but hopefully you could see there that my hand was a bit splayed, a bit loosey-goosey. You want your kind of your wrist and the palm of your hand to be like a calm center of strength, and all the fingers are just resting on the keys. They're not going wild to other places. And while on the subject of posture, you should also have your wrist somewhat up. And yeah, there's this concept of the closed hand in continuous music. This is natural for most people as a hand position, but for me it is no longer. Like, my fingers want to come here. You want to keep your hand kind of relaxed and closed into the palm where possible. So even in this really simple pattern, that could go wrong. So anyway, these are things to think about, and as I said, it's a meditation, so you can do this as long as you like and let your mind drift and just make sure you're feeling your fingers held all the way down into the keyboard and letting your thumb stay. And as you're doing it, you're also listening to the overtones and the way they blend. Then, okay, let's actually move on. Then you introduce the left hand. So left hand comes in sporadically, or randomly, erratically, whatever. You play F and A with your third and thumb. So what was true for me, and the only other person I've given this piece to who struggles with this piece, what is true is that it having the left hand still and the right hand active and then suddenly introducing the left hand can be psychologically a bit challenging. It's like you put in the left and like all your focus is there, and the right hand kind of collapses, it stops moving. So this meditation is good for overcoming that. You don't want to be completely mindless. You want to retain some feeling of what the keys are like, but your right hand should be able to generate the notes for itself. Like, you should be able to let your mind wander and let this happen. And if you need kind of help getting it in sync when you introduce the left hand, try just very slowly going like, and like here you might be really concentrating on each movement, just so that you know what it feels like in your hand, and then you can try and attain this without concentrating so much on the notes. And again, these fingers are not active, but I want them to rest calmly on the keys. I want my wrist to be up, my hand to be stable and strong and closed. And I want my third and thumb finger to really sink into the keys. And even have them both down at the same time. Like I'm only playing the F and the A, but I'm not doing, I'm doing. Where there is considerable overlap. So I think this is you should aim to go at something like this speed. Not much slower. Definitely don't go like, there's no need to be fancy or fast here. This is a basic meditation. Do not try to go fast. Keep this calmness, please. And here we also have a 2-note figure in the left hand and a 3-note figure in the right. What Lubomyr often refers to as an incongruous pattern. This is the backbone of, not of continuous music, but of the kind of original primitive continuous music that he first was doing when he discovered it. And again, it can be psychologically challenging. I mean, for all types of music, to have your left hand doing a different thing to your right hand, this is always difficult. But there's a bit of a difference here with normal music. For one thing, the left hand and the right hand should be equally as dominant. Or rather, there should be no dominance. They should be as loud as each other. Your attention should be divided evenly between them. And that doesn't mean they don't have different roles necessarily. The right hand's carrying more of a melody and the left hand's carrying more of a rhythm. And about the rhythm, don't play triplets. Triplets have their place in continuous music, but not in these meditations. You want simple duple rhythm. And that is controlled by the left hand. So you just sit with this a while, and you want to really make sure there is exact synchrony, or as close to exact synchrony as you can manage. So this will maybe mean playing very slowly. It's really important to develop that feeling of incongruous patterns, yet exact, never-ending synchrony. And again, it's meditation, so you sit with this as long as you need to. And as you sit with it, you listen out for the other rhythms and the other melodies that appear and the overtones. So what do I mean by the other rhythms? Well, it's not in the score and it's not in what I've told you, but as I've been playing, I haven't been trying to do this, I've just listened and I've noticed it. My thumb is picking out this D note. Sometimes, not even always. But this is it's an unexpected thing that just happened, and this is normal in continuous music, so that you want to listen for that. Like, you're sitting with it and you're just trying to listen for every possible thing. You're giving your left hand a bit of attention to let your fingers sink in, and then you give your right hand a bit of attention, and you kind of flick between the two, and then you give the sound a bit of attention, you give the feeling of synchrony a bit of attention. You do all of that, and then you take the left hand away. So you can bring it in and take it away at any time. And it's good to practice taking it away and bringing it in on different notes. So you can enter with the F and the D in the left and the right hands, or any other combination. So or so there I entered on the F and the D, but when I resumed again, I entered on when both hands were playing the A notes. You should try to vary this and make sure you have the control to vary this. So this is also something people find hard. I found this hard at first. Like, you're all mindless, and you're almost too mindless. You don't have the necessary control to I guess sculpt the direction of the mindlessness. So okay, you're drifting off, but you should still be very much in control. And then you do that for as long as you wish. And then so now the right hand goes to a different chording. It's playing C, E, A with 1, 2, and 5 fingers. And a little bit about hand posture. So, your wrist is still up, your hand is still trying to be closed. If you have smaller hands than I do, don't try and stretch for the whole, like, it'd be the equivalent of me trying to stretch for the whole, like this pattern. I'm using my whole stretch. Don't do that. Like, if I were playing a bigger stretch like this, I would be here, and then I swivel round to get the A. That's there's a whole other story to that. But basically the point is, if this stretch is slightly uncomfortable for you, as it might be as a beginner, that's fine. Use your wrist to help you. So, for example, you can be on the 1 and the 2 note, the C and the E, the thumb and the second finger, and you just remember you're letting your fingers sink all the way in, and you're getting used to that feeling. And maybe as you let it sink in, you pivot on the E. So just slightly let your wrist swing a bit, let it be up, let it be supple, let it be relaxed. And yeah, let your wrists be relaxed, let all your fingers be relaxed. If you feel tension, then you just need to meditate more and play the meditation more and really try and calm down. You should have your shoulders loose, your whole body should be relaxed, kind of sitting comfortably with your weight on your hips, etc., etc. Like the full body posture is important. So okay, you're doing this, and then you sporadically introduce the left hand again. So instead of F and A, it's now A and E. So we're one octave below middle C now. And that's gone off camera, my apologies. So I should be able to see this, yeah. So your randomly introducing and removing the left hand. You're using different fingers. You're using your fifth and your thumb, and you maybe want to get used to the sensation of your wrist kind of alternating between the two, because the fifth finger is often quite weak, so you can give it a bit of weight from the rest of the arm and the hand. Let it sink in. And as always, you want to listen for you want to look out for the feeling of total synchrony and calmness, and listen for the overtones and the extra rhythms. You can emphasize the C note with your thumb, or you can use your wrist to help you emphasize the high A notes, like. If your wrist is like truly calm and relaxed, you can do this fine, and you don't even need to really concentrate on it. So you can be just doing this and then suddenly decide like now there I was emphasizing the C more, and I was letting my thumb pick out that note. This is something you can do, something you can play with. And then you alternate back and forth. So you're doing this A minor pattern, and then you return to the original D minor that we had. Now, going from the left-hand jump is maybe tricky, especially with your eyes closed. So you're down here with your fifth finger and your thumb, and then you suddenly have to come up to this F and this A. I don't expect you necessarily to do that immediately, and it's not in the piece that you should do that immediately. So you can just kind of lift off, find your position, and then resume. But you should try to do this with your eyes closed. So you're here, you lift, you stop playing the left hand, but you still feel your thumb on the E, and you're blind, and you try to get a sense of the space of where you should go. Like maybe you want to swivel because you know the F you want to go to is right next to that E, so you swivel around a little bit, or maybe onto your third finger, and then you're still blind, you're feeling around, and you might find the right note. You might get it wrong lots of times, that's fine. Part of the point of this exercise is to get used to the sense of space. Now, with your eyes closed. So you can just jump, but you don't have to. Now that's especially difficult to do with your eyes closed, doing an immediate jump. You can develop that ability, but for your first exercise, you don't want to worry about that. And I was also playing too fast there, probably. Let it be calm. Don't go much faster than this. Now you can try to not kind of introduce and leave off the left hand, like keep it there, and just try and make this transition between the A minor and the F minor, the D minor. You can, again, don't try and do it immediately, but you can try and practice doing it calmly but quickly. So like if you need a few seconds to find the space, find the right hand position, fumbling around in the dark, because please, you want to do this with your eyes closed, that's fine. now that you've grown comfortable with that, hopefully, there's section B of the piece. So we're in this A minor chording. Instead of going back up, the right hand returns to what it was doing, the D, F, A, but the left hand doesn't go all the way up. The left hand makes a change which you should try to do immediately. So you're on the A and the E, then you lift up your third finger to the D, and then you want to go to the F. So you're here on the A and the E. Again, that's A and E and then D and F, all in the same octave. You want that to be a continuous transition. And with your eyes closed and your right hand also doing movements, that might be tricky at first. That's fine. It's part of the exercise. If you struggle to make this transition fluidly, you can maybe not worry about it for now and come back to trying to achieve that later. If you need your eyes open to do it, you can do that fine, and then practice later on doing this with your eyes closed. The idea is to feel where your thumb is psychologically. It's between the D and the F. And you just know, oh, okay, I need my third finger on that D. So I can put it next to the thumb. And then my thumb's basically already in the right position to go to the F. Just has to go one semitone up. So you can do that calmly, and your wrist can help you. So your wrist can do all this swiveling for you, because again, in continuous music, I want you to have a closed, relaxed, flexible wrist, right? You don't want to be going big stretches and big jumps, not so much. Yeah, that should feel calm. And Lubomyr often talks about perceiving the chording. So it really does help to psychologically hear what it should sound like when you return to the new chord before you play it. And then somehow this makes it easier to actually make the transition. So now we're here. So D, F, A in the right hand and D and F alternating in the left. Everything I said before still applies. You've got a 2-note and a 3-note pattern. They're different. You want to keep a duple rhythm, everything. The next chording you're doing, so the right hand changes from D, F, A to D, E, A. So all that you replace your third finger with the second finger on the E. And the left hand changes from D and F, and it just moves the thumb down to D and E. So. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, when do you change? You change whenever the hell you want to. So what I did there, I changed on the tonic, the bass of the triad. I don't have to do that. It's good to try and practice changing at a different point. And you can also change your left hand before you change your right, and vice versa. So. That's fine. There was a bit of dissonance there where I mixed the two chords. That's fine. It's even nice, maybe. You can experiment with that. It's good to try and make the changes at different times anyway. And then the last chording in this section that you go to is you drop your right hand from thumb on the D to, so it's doing D, E, A. You drop that down to C, E, A. And again, you're trying to push your fingers all the way into the keys, hold down the notes in a kind of legato fashion. Don't be too extreme. Again, if this C, E, A, that's a stretch for you if you have smaller hands. Okay, you don't need to hold the C, you can lift it off and let it come up to help you reach the top note, but certainly let the E stay down. Like when you put your second finger down, let it stay down until it has to play again. left hand transitions from D and E with third and thumb to the thing we had before with the A on the fifth finger and then the E. So the transition there is. And then you repeat. You can go a lot slower than that. Don't go any faster than that. As always, there are nice harmonies and overlapping tones and secret subrhythms if you let it really play out and listen for it. If you kind of maintain the bars for a very long time. And how long you maintain a figure for is completely up to you. So the sense of time in continuous music doesn't really come from rhythm and meter and bar lines. It comes from the rate at which you change between the figures, more or less. So if you want something more energetic, you just switch between the figures. Yeah, at a higher frequency. Now, your eyes must be closed, and with the left hand that could be challenging. So when you're here, maybe, the natural position for your fifth finger is on the B, just as your hand is resting. But with your eyes closed, you need to convince it to go one step down, land on the E when you make that change from DE to AE. And it's easy to fumble that. Be patient. And then again, I've already talked about it, but there's that transition back up to the D and the F. So the whole thing, you should do it with your eyes closed. It should feel calm. If it doesn't feel calm, if you're really like kind of stressed trying to make that transition, like slow down and also, yeah, calm down. Like it's not that deep. It's just a piano exercise, but it will come. And you might have to play very slowly and give yourself a bit of patience to do it. And if you really are struggling, then maybe even a more simple exercise, like just sitting here and then just changing your fingers without moving your wrist at all, without moving the hand at all. Maybe if you can get that feeling going with your eyes closed, you can, that will help. Okay, so you do this section, and then let's say you come up to the first chording of this section. Sorry. The next section starts much higher up. So it is completely legal to just take your hands off and kind of calmly move up. So let me tell you where we are. We move up to A, C, E in the right hand, but the C is not middle C, it's one octave up. And the left hand is moved from D and F to just F and A, so that's not such a big jump. The next chording is you take off your fifth finger in your right hand and you play the D instead, which is where your fourth finger is. And your left hand goes from A and C to A and B, but you use your third and thumb, so you don't use your second finger. This is not too comfortable. You use your thumb. So you're just doing A and B, and together you're sounding like change. And again, you can change whenever you want to, and hold the bar as long as you want to, hold the figure as long as you want to. The next thing is you're playing G, B, D in the right hand with 1, 2, and 4. So you go from here. So your second finger is already in the right place. So if you're and your fourth finger too. So if you're playing with your eyes closed, the only thing you have to do is move your thumb down from here to the G. So from the A to the G. You have to find that space with your eyes closed. And I think this chording is quite strong. You can land strongly on the G and emphasize it if you want to. Your left hand goes from A and B to G and B, but again with the third finger and the thumb. So. By the way, I'm tucking my fingers away here, just so you can more clearly see my hand, not because you should be doing this when you play. When you play, you should be calmly resting on the keys. So the transition is, there was to G and B. And then you keep your right hand the same and you switch your left hand from G and B to E and B. So. Does not change. And that's the final section. So you just alternate. So you're doing the A chord, A, C, E. Then a slightly dissonant one with the B in the left hand and the D in the right. G's. E and G. Eyes closed, you need to convince your left hand to move up from this position, E and B, to the A and the C. And similarly, the right hand has to move up from the G major chord to the A minor. So it's like it has to lift up, move everything one unit across, and then come down. But don't do that. Your hand should not lift up from the keyboard. You should more so kind of maybe come up to the D, maybe let your wrist swivel and let your thumb fall on the A rather than the G. And it finds the chord it needs to find. And that's that, more or less. So, as I have been saying, that this is a meditation. Once you accomplish the notes, you should not feel like the piece is done. The various comments I made about calmness and having your eyes closed and letting the mind drift and changing in different ways and everything, that still implies, that's important, but there's more to it than that. Like, you want to sit with this and know the feeling of your mind wandering whilst still being in control. You want to be able, ideally you could play this for half an hour or 40 minutes and not get bored. This is possible. And also not get tired. So like really you're aiming for total relaxation. So even once you've got all these changes down, it's still something to sit with, as all continuous music is. It's not just about the notes. Listening for the overlapping tones and the sub-rhythms kind of emerging without you really wanting them to, letting your hands generate the figures without specific instruction, almost like they're independent, except without being independent because you are still in control. These are tricky feelings to put into words, but you can find them, you can start to find them in meditations. And this is the first meditation, and it's good to practice the others as well. I have other tutorial videos. And you might be wondering why I've spoken for 30 minutes about such a simple piece. You could teach this to a ABRSM grade 3 or even a grade 2 student. No problem, but they would almost certainly miss the point. And like, this video is so long because I'm trying to really convince you to not miss the point. Yeah. If you've made it this far, thank you. I should say, well, when I demonstrated how this piece could be played, I moved from the middle section, so you're on the D minor chording. I didn't just kind of levitate and go up to the A minor chording up top. I did this whole transitional period. You don't have to do that. That was also somewhat improvised, and it's especially difficult to improvise that if you're not used to playing with your eyes closed, because I had to find the chords in the dark. Like, I had to know the spacing, and I had to have a certain kind of confidence and fluidity to do that. And I was also playing very fast, so again, if that, well, not very fast, but faster than you should be playing this piece. Yeah, you don't need to worry about any of that. It's not mandatory. But if you want, you can experiment with trying to go from here to up here without lifting your hands off or making a pause. Like, you can try and experiment with what intermediate chordings sound nice and feel comfortable, and kind of work your way slowly up the keyboard. But this is more tricky. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say, except that there's a lot of similarity between the three sections, so why even bother? Doing the Donald Trump hands. Why bother is because they test the fingering in different ways, and that they use different sounds, and it's good to have that range. I had another thought. I've forgotten the other thing I was going to say. Very well. Oh yeah, so because there's so much similarity, I made especially detailed comments about the first section. All of those comments apply to the later sections as well. Okay, I think now I am going to shut up.